Hello, and welcome everyone to another episode of Mackmyra Life. I'm Richard Micky, and I'll be one of your hosts for the evening and brand ambassador for Mackmyra. Joining me, my co-host on this side, Micky. Hello, Micky. You still there? You're frozen a bit on my screen. I don't know if that's just me. Hopefully that's not. I'm going to carry on talking just in case, because I can't quite hear you, Micky. Yeah, I think Micky, you might have frozen a little bit there. So I'll say hello from Mick on your behalf. Today, Mackmyra Life, we're here to talk about ready casks. What is a ready cask? Some of you might be asking, and stick around. We'll come to it any moment. I was going to hand off to Micky to talk about latest updates for Mackmyra. And the announcement obviously that happened last weekend, and ask him how that might affect the shows that we're doing and Mackmyra's plans over the next few weeks. Lots of change obviously happening in, at least people living in England, going into lockdown. For Casks for us. Hello, Micky.
Hi guys, how are we doing?
There we go. Lovely job, Mick. Yeah.
The perks of technology, mate. You'd not think we'd be doing this for 7 months, would you?
Micky was just talking about the merits of doing things on an iPad a moment ago as well, which I think is ironic. But here we are. Glad to have you back, Mick. So yeah, I'll ask you if it's okay. Actually, I was just leading into it, but obviously, announcement about lockdown at the weekend. What is that going to mean for us, for our shows, and do we have any other updates?
So, while the country's locking down, or while England's locking down, in Scotland and Wales are doing their own forms of certain restrictions, etc. So while things are shutting down, we're actually opening up. So the good news is, nobody panic. It's our new virtual boozer, or our virtual pub, the Mackmyra Inn. We open the doors at 6 o'clock on Friday. So we just want to try and get into that vibe of finishing work for the week, kicking back. When you'd normally go to the pub with your pals, have a dram, and just chat some stuff about the week. So we're hoping to take that vibe into a virtual forum, and we're going to start that on Friday. So that'll be pretty good. And also on Saturday, guys, we've got our reserve cask. So tonight we're going to talk about ready casks, but we have another program called a reserve cask program. We lay it down for 4 or 5 years. Start on Saturday and Saturday only. We've got 20% off our reserve cask, guys. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that near the end of the show. So please stay tuned if that's something that really interests you, quite frankly. Rich, what we're going to do tonight? Yeah,
so talk about ready casks, which you've mentioned now. What we're going to do is any moment we'll explain what they are. But so the show this evening, we're going to talk about what ready casks are. We're going to tell you why we have them, the types of casks we have available, who might consider one, sort of people that might be interested in one, and then how you can get hold of one. So I think now's probably a good time, Mick. I'll hand over to you to explain what a ready cask actually is.
For sure. So guys, it's like Dulux, do you know what I mean? It's exactly like it says on the tin. These are ready casks. So these are our 30-litre casks, the heart of Mackmyra. There are 30-litre casks that we've deemed to be ready to bottle. They're ready. You don't need any more time in the cask per se, so they are ready to rock and roll now. In fact, some of them have already been bottled and are sat on the shelf, just waiting for an owner, waiting to be packaged up, have a sexy new label put on. So that's obviously that. Yeah. So one of our 30-litre casks. Yeah, some of them have already been bottled. Some of them are just about to be bottled. So if they've already been bottled, there's roughly 45 to 55 bottles, roughly, give or take, all of which have been bottled at their prime, like we've said. It allows you, if you're a bit impatient like myself, Rich, I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit impatient. If I see something and I like it, I'm one of those guys that sort of wants it now. So the Ready Cask program One of its advantages, pros and cons stakes over our reserve cask, is that literally you can have it now, or within a certain delivery time frame. I don't want to set expectations that if you buy it on Saturday, it's going to arrive on Wednesday or anything, guys. You know what I mean? There is a bit of a process we need to go through. But yeah, you don't need to wait those 4 or 5 years or 6 years or 7 years for your reserve cask, basically. These are casks that, I really do now. Just design your label and let's get it out to you.
And that's it. Yeah.
That's it.
I think that's it in a nutshell. Cask a bottle ready to go. Place your order, it arrives, and you start drinking rather than wait a few years to have one. So I think we've actually got a few samples, Mickey. We're lucky enough to have them. Perks of the job, for these shows. Sorry?
That is one of the perks of this job, without
question.
It's lovely talking about whiskey all the time, but we have to put a graft in. But it's times like this and you think, you know what? This is a cool job, man.
Yeah. Well, the first one we've got, so we got these little car samples, and we'll touch a little bit more on them later when we talk about consultations that we do. We've got an elegant ex-bourbon that is, I believe, 6 years old from a 30-litre cask here. So we can report we've got 3 drams to get through in the course of what should be about a 30-minute show. So probably not too big pours, I think, Mick, and perhaps we'll see the show home with whichever our favourite is. So also means I can save it for another day. So yeah,
another perk.
Well, we've got that in there. While you're getting to know that, we'll come back to you for some feedback on this. I'll talk a little bit about why we have ready casks. Like, why do we have a reserve cask program where you can lay something down and wait a few years and design your own whiskey from the ground up? Why do we even have casks ready to sell? So people that have followed our story or joined in tastings before, we were founded back in 1999. Or founded in 98, but started distilling in 99. And our founders hand-built a 100-litre still. And to fill a 200-litre barrel, and this is actually being welded together there. So engineers, all 8 of them, were various types of speciality from engineering. And we welded that still together. From a 100-litre still, we took a 30-litre cut, a 30-litre heart cut, which meant to fill a 200-litre barrel would take us anywhere from 6 to 7 distillations to do it. So at some point, some clever clogs thought, why don't we just make a cask that will fit for each run that we do? So the 30-litre cask was born, and it's become synonymous, I think, with Mackmyra ever since. So you can see some pictures here, and we have got thousands and thousands of casks that we do with these. But in 2002, so after a few years of maturation with them, when we launched a private cask programs, and since then, so in the last 18 years, we've sold close to, I think, 22,000 casks, 30-litre casks, most of which have been in Sweden. It's easy for them to buy a cask than it is to keep going to these, System Bolaget, government monopoly stores, and driving whatever distance they've got to do to get there. It's easier to buy casks, so we sell a lot of them. But the reason that we've got casks ready to bottle is, say, on average, we might sell 1,000 casks a year. 1 year we might sell 1,050. 1 year we might sell 980. And whichever year we've got a surplus of casks left over, we don't just sort of let that cask sit there, and we monitor them. We're careful with them, and they're checked regularly. And if we think it's prime for bottling, rather than just let it sit there and somebody else come along and buy that cask when we know full well that it's past its prime, we bottle it when it's ready to go. So we bottle it, we get the time right, and then it will sit there. It could sit there for a few weeks, could sit there for a few months, waiting for the right person to taste it and then bring it home with them. So really, that's why we have ready casks. So, you can take advantage of the fact that if we have a surplus 1 year, we've got these things bottled at their prime, ready to go, and you can capitalize on it. So where can people pick up ready casks? And, you go on our website, we'll touch on that in a moment. But what I think I'd like to do, Mickey, is hear what you think about this cask sample.
Me, I'm having to keep looking at the sample bottle, right? Because the sample bottle tells me this is 50.3%, right? And that does not drink like a 50.3% dram at all. The nose is lovely. You don't get that big shot of alcohol that you can sometimes get on above 46% drams. They can sometimes get. The fruit is there. It's a big punch. You can tell this is Mackmyra. All those fruit flavors that you associate with us come through. You get some of those pears, bananas, the green apples, etc. That's a bit dangerous. That.
That's got the DNA to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100% without questionable doubt. You know, so this is going to ex-bourbon, so the sweetness is elevated a little bit that you normally associate with an ex-bourbon cask. But yeah, no, that's beautiful. Quite frankly, you know, this probably is the simplest that our ready casks come at, really. You know, and probably the most accessible in affordability. Not that the rest of them are stupidly expensive or anything, but I think, you know, ex-bourbon elegant recipe. So elegant recipe, guys, if you didn't know, that's our non-peated recipe. So that really is, you know, probably what the heart of Mackmyra is. Good evening, Carl Lucas. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, hello, Carl. Carl's actually a reserve cask owner, a proud owner.
Awesome.
I think, yeah, who's hoping, I think, as we all are, to get over to Sweden one day, so he can come and read his cask a poem sometime, or we'll go and give it a little pack and stuff. Yeah, good to have you with us, Carl. Anyway, so yeah, I think well, this quite similar to what you were saying. So I think the core DNA of Mackmyra shines through in this, as it does in any of the ex-bourbon, you know, types that I've tried. It's got a bit of added sweetness to it than some of the younger ex-bourbons that I've tried of the single casks. But yeah, orchard fruits, warm spices.
Yeah.
And the finish, that finish is, I'm not a big fan of a dry finish. I know lots of people are, or at least, you know, a drying and then perhaps getting a bit more juicy. This is just like juicy fruit, chewing gum like finish, like really rich and mouth-filling. And fruiting,
gets the saliva glands working for sure. So there's a little bit of spice to it, just a tiny little bit of spice to it, as you'd expect, up at like 50.3%. Do you know what I mean? But it's not, you're not sipping that and going, oof, that needs a touch of water. You know, that personally, my own personal opinion, I don't think that needed any water.
No, it doesn't.
When I go back to some of that drum later on, I might add a touch of water just to experiment with it, to see what it does with it, to see if it brings any more of those fruitiness flavors out with it, like it would normally do. But at the moment, I'm more than happy with that at 50.3%, Rich.
Yeah, me too. I agree. I was actually going to say the same thing. I'm going to set that aside. So I think we should pour dram number 2 now. Talk a little bit about what cask we do have available. I'm going to set that aside with one of my little caps over the top, and then return back and maybe drop a bit of water in. Guys, if anyone does buy a cask, or if anyone's bought a reserve cask and ends up, you know, with all their bottles turn up one day, but the cool thing about it is you can experiment with however much. Keep one bottle aside for experimentation and see how the rest of them are. And I mean, even over
freezer. Up of a mountain in the sun, it don't matter.
Different music on, yeah, different crowd. But let's get this elegant Oloroso into the glass. So with this, we've got 6-year-old again, elegant Oloroso, 49.2% ABV. So I think I'm going to have a little assessment of this, Mick, while you let everyone know. Give them a bit of a rundown, I think, on what casks we have available, what type of spirit recipes, and, you know, what variety can people get their hands on.
For sure. First thing I'm going to say before I head into that stuff, guys, is the color on that is phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? You probably can't see that too well, but the color on that is absolutely amazing. So what cask types, you know, so we've spoken, we've just mentioned 2 there, you know, an ex-bourbon cask, which is very, very synonymous throughout the whiskey industry, no matter whether you're buying your whiskey from Sweden, from Scotland, from Ireland, or whatever, doesn't matter. Other countries are available, guys, as well, obviously. But also, you know, one of the very first casks that the whiskey industry played with really was with sherry casks. So we've got Oloroso sherry cask, which is this has come from, available as well. We've got like American oak, that can be virgin, can be first fill, second fill as well. So depending on what you're wanting, and the same with Swedish oak. That's just probably a small number. A small number of the ones that we can do on the ready cask. So, you know, sometimes a port cask might pop up because, you know, it didn't figure into the plans for Angela or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So that might become available. So it's worth checking it out, guys. You know, it's the amount of stuff we can do is phenomenal. You know,
I love that picture.
We do have a really cool cask, actually, the Gravity or the Anniversary cask, yeah, which has got ex-bourbon cask staves and Swedish oak ends. So that you see some of the pictures there of the casks in preparation to take the liquid, guys. Yeah. So we've got the Gravity and Anniversary cask. Like I said, bourbon staves, and Swedish oak ends. I think that's probably the perfect marriage, really, for the Mackmyra spirit. You know, the fruitiness with that sweetness coming through from the ex-bourbon, and then those spicy, like more nutty notes coming through from the Swedish oak as well, complementing each other. That tends to go down quite well. So we've got those. You've got we've also we've got 2 recipes, guys. We've got elegant, and as I mentioned, that's our non-peated recipe, and we've got our smoky recipe as well, our rook. So yeah, we've 2 recipes: elegant, non-peated, smoky, or rook, which is our smoky. There's also there's our smoker there. You can see the furnace just to the left-hand picture, and the right is our malting floor. There's perforations, small perforations in that to allow the smoke to get in there and permeate through the malt while it's molten. There's roughly two places, I think, on our ready casks that are available for their maturation, or they come from their maturation, from their sleep. So that's our Bogus mine, which is 50 meters below the ground. It's an ex-iron ore mine. After it was an iron ore mine, it was used to grow mushrooms. Now it's 10 big cavernous places where we store our whiskey, our preferred whiskey storage. But we've also got the forest warehouse at Mackmyra Village. So that's quite a short walk from the distillery itself. As you can see there, you go down the path from the distillery through some lovely forest.
Something good to add about the forest warehouse as well is difference that you have between Bodas mines and the forest is that ABV. You tend to get a higher ABV from the forest warehouse casks, but you tend to get a higher bottle yield from the Bodas mines.
Yeah.
There's something to consider as well when you're looking at the list and wondering what the differences are and why there's such big differences. Have a look at which warehouse they've come from as well.
So we've not factored in a geek corner bit for Mackmyra Life this week, Rich. So we'll not go too deep into that one. Do you know what I mean? But basically, it's all to do with humidity, guys. Okay, the mine's got high humidity, and the forest hasn't. Basically, we'll cap it at that. If you want to know any more, you can read up on it in various places. Okay, so that's our 20-second geek corner for this week.
Read up on it, or contact either of us, because we just can't wait to talk about that sort of stuff. So,
that's not a problem. That's not a problem. In fact, we might factor in a whole Mackmyra Life episode further down the line, just on maturation and maturation techniques. That might be a wee shout, Rich.
Sounds like a good idea to me. Just do a 30-minute geek session. We can get it all out of our system, and then
get a proper geek out on.
Perfect. Well, so to a quick recap, basically, of what we've gone through. We're roughly halfway through. We've said it a few times now, but a ready cask is a cask bottled at its prime. You can buy anywhere. If you buy 45 to 55 bottles, say all at one go. No long waits. So if you're someone that wants to buy a cask, and you or your friends, you're interested in buying a large number of bottles from Mackmyra, basically, you don't have to wait several years or more, several years or many years for a cask to be matured. It's all ready to go as soon as you want it. Personalized labels. We did touch on that briefly. We've got some examples we're going to show you in a moment as well. You can design your own label. Here's one here. Perfect. So here's one of the more simple ones that we've got. Swedish fellow or group of friends would have organised that. And this one, actually, if you can leave that up for a moment, Carl. This is one of my favourite labels that we've seen so far. I don't know if anyone can see Pandemic Tonic. This is from somebody, I think it's in the St Albans area, who I think he's actually ended up buying 2 casks from us in the end. Really nice guy. Knows our fellow ambassador Gareth very well. But Pandemic Tonic, I think, is a wonderful name for a whiskey at the moment.
Very apt.
Very apt indeed. Yeah. So personalised labels. So you can create your own thing. All these different bottles with your personalised label on. I think to make it an individual thing is really good. And then last thing to recap, Mickey just talking about there. Lots of different varieties of things you can choose from cask types. Be a first, second fill. Be whatever cask the oak has had, whatever liquid it's been in before. The recipes that we can have in there of peated, unpeated, and the warehouse location as well. So lots of things to choose from. Various ABVs, lots of different bottle quantities. So if you want something that's, you know, only got 40 bottles, might be a bit cheaper, you'll probably be able to find one. If you've got a large group of friends and you want something that's got more, you'll be able to find that too. So, Mickey, I think, what do you think about a 30-second touch on the dram that we've just had? Because, yeah, I poured a small amount. I poured just a wee bit out of the top, and while you were talking about the cask types you had available, I actually went back and poured another 3 bits out into the glass. So I've gone halfway through it. I said we can do small pours at the top, but this is absolutely delicious. Elegant Oloroso, this one. So unpeated Oloroso, and 6 years old.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, obviously, guys, you know, 30-litre casks mature a lot faster than 200, 250, 500, 600-litre casks, butts, hogsheads, all that sort of good stuff, you know. So people get put off by a young age. Please don't. Please overlook that. So, you know, we can on certain things, we can get samples of stuff, you know, just to allow you to try these things, guys. Okay, because, you know, 3 things don't make a good whiskey: age, color, and price. Okay, you can have some really light, really young, really cheap whiskey, and it's lovely. And on the flip side, you can have some really old, really dark, really expensive whiskey. And yeah, sometimes it's a great experience to go for that. But would you want another 2 or 3 grams of that, regardless of price? Probably not. No. So don't be put off by age, guys. Okay, the 30-litre casks do mature a lot faster, and this is just phenomenal. You know, 6 years old. Rich, did you say this was?
6 years old. Yeah, I think that's a really good point you make about the age as well. Because if someone looks online and the next dram we've got is, you know, is 4 years old, someone looks online and sees some of those ages. Bear in mind, you know, 30-litre casks, but some of them. So we would advise when doing a reserve cask for someone, if you put it into Swedish oak, you know, you might be ready in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So you don't have, you know, just a few years down the line. If you put it into ex-bourbon, could be ready roughly 5, you know, 5, 6, like we've got here. So yeah, so these, depending on the cask, you know, you're going to get it faster as well. So talking about the next dram, next one we've got, Mick, before we move on, is the Smoky Oloroso, 4 years old. And if anyone knows about, you know, peated whiskey, smoky whiskey, the younger it is for me, often the better. You know, the older it gets, it can be lovely and refined and beautiful, and there are plenty around that I like. But I also very much enjoy a youthful smoky whiskey because it's got that big punch to it, got that oomph behind it, and this, even if you know, 4 years old, 30-litre cask, probably got more maturity than a standard hogshead at 4 years old.
Well, it will do, yeah, because that increased wood content, wood contact. Sorry,
that's it. Interaction. Yeah. So yeah. So while we pull this, Mick, I think one of the things we said we talk about before going on to the how to get hold of ready casks is the who. Who should be thinking about it? You know, who might it be a good idea to, you know, consider one.
So guys, bear in mind, right, this list is not exhaustive. Okay, it's not. This is just some prime examples that we can think of basically when we were putting this show together. All right, but this list is not exhaustive. If you don't happen to fall into one of these categories, it's okay. You're still welcome. Do you know what I mean? So please don't think that if I've not personally named your category that you fall into or whatever, please don't think that is not for you. Okay, it's pretty much for everybody, really. But probably some of the top contenders, shall we say, that this would interest was, well, anybody that likes exploring whiskey. So pretty much that encompasses quite a lot of people. If you're watching, even if you're not watching, you watch it and play back later or whatever, this probably includes you. You could do it alone. I'm quite greedy, Rich, so I'd probably look at this alone, quite frankly. Or, you know, you could come together with some of your pals if there's like a small whiskey group, or just a couple of pals that are into whiskey or whatever. One of your pals might not be even into whiskey, but open to exploring new avenues. Who knows? So, yeah, but like I said, Joe, if you're part of a bigger whiskey club, you know, we've got a label coming up in a wee bit that Rich was part of designing, etc. And because he's part of a whiskey club, and that turned out phenomenal. You know, good, a bigger group than say like 4 or 5 people clubbed together basically and did their own labeling, their own bottling, and it looks fantastic. So if you're part of a whiskey club, there you go, the Whiskey Circus.
That's it.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
It's beautiful. That. Yeah.
So that's more than just a handful of friends that got together to put that together. Any Mackmyra fans? That's it all bottled up. I mean, how good does that look?
That
looks phenomenal, Rich. I'll be honest. That looks phenomenal.
It's due to arrive with us. Hope, fingers crossed, in the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
And I cannot wait to have it on my shelf. I honestly can't wait to show it to people. Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
So we don't stop. The list doesn't stop there, right? So any Mackmyra fans, so established Mackmyra fans, you've been through our core range, you've been through our seasonals, you love our moments. But obviously, as we all know, that's a mixture of casks that have gone to make up a recipe. But you want to know what those core components taste like individually before they've gone into the recipe to make up that particular expression that you quite enjoy. So this is for you guys, exactly. This is for you guys, Christmas is coming. So what about treating loads of your pals? If you've got a big family, a big group of pals as well, you could buy a ready cask and give them out as presents. You can have your face potentially on it in like a wee cartoon version, something like that. Do you know what I mean? So every time your pals look at the whiskey shelves, your family look at the whiskey shelves, there you go. It's like he's having a jam with me, brilliant. Or another thing, weddings, wedding favors. What a perfect way. So if you and your good partner, I've got a good extended family and friends and stuff like that, they're into whiskey, or you're into whiskey, you want to get your friends and family into it. What better way, these 50 cl bottles with your own unique label, with your wedding date on it, something simple like that just flashed up on the screen there. I think that would be fantastic, quite frankly. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So that's the who, Rich. That's the who, right? So we've covered quite a few extensive groups there.
I think so.
If I've not mentioned you guys, and you're still welcome as well. Do you know what I mean? I can make up other categories, that's fine, but that's just the ones that come off the top of my head. But I think the first category encompasses everybody, anyone that likes exploring whiskey. So I think pretty much that covers everybody, right?
I think so.
That's the who, Rich. Tell us how we can get our hands on them. How can we get involved?
Perfect. Yeah. So the how. There's two main ways of getting hold of it. So you can do yourself via the internet and have a look at our website. So the first of which is the probably the most straightforward and the easiest of the two. Well, I wouldn't say the easiest necessarily, but definitely the quickest, almost an instant transaction. So visit mackmyra.co.uk, search for the Ready Cask tabs, go and have a look and browse. And I think we'll catch up to where the Ready Casks are any moment. We're dealing obviously with internet here, with the computer that's trying to run our stream at the same time. So you get to this page, and on here I think there's probably as many as 40 or 45 at the moment. It's a living site, it's a living page where things can disappear, they can get added to it. So if you see something you like, act as relatively as quickly as you can, and have a look through. So if you see something in there, for example, an elegant bourbon, let's have a look at an elegant bourbon. You have a look through, you like the look of this, you click on it, you scroll up and down on the page, and there's lots of information that's on there. Now, next to the white cask end and the bottle picture, there was a little tab that says, I think it's like a cask information, or that's it. Yeah, so you have a look at that, and it's got the stats on there. It tells you, distilled when, bottled when, ABV, all the different, stats that you might want to have a look at. Any sort of geeks amongst us, or anyone that really wants to, know what they're purchasing, have a look, and you can see you like the look of it, and you think that's for me. This is the first step. You just add it to your basket and buy it, and that's the first of the two main steps, as I would call them. Yeah, so there you go. Add to your basket, and there you are. You're a cask owner. Wait a few weeks, and then off it is, and then it's with you. The second step is probably the step that I would advise. Yeah. And I think it's a step that actually most of the cask sales that I've been involved with, it's what people have, the steps that people have followed. So with this option, is basically, go through a consultation with one of us, with one of the Mackmyra brand ambassadors. So with this option, you go and visit the website yet again. You search for ready cask consultation. And here we go. That's it, straight on the page. Looking at £25 plus delivery. Our minimum delivery for free delivery, by the way, is £50. So if there's anything else on there that you fancy, or you want to buy 2 of these sample packs, for you and a friend involved, please do. But yeah, you buy this pack. Within that pack, within that pack, I was talking about reserve cask for a moment then, but you buy a consultation for £25. And what happens when you pay for that is you'll be contacted by a brand ambassador who will reach out and speak to you for whatever length of time you really need to have a conversation for. In that first stage, we would ask you, what sort of whiskey are you interested in? Is there anything on the website you've seen that you're keen on, or that got any questions about? What sort of things do you normally drink? What excites you, what doesn't, and really just try and work out what whiskies would be good to send you samples of, so that we can find the perfect ready cask for you. We've got samples of, I think, just about every single ready cask that's on the website, more or less. We've got samples of, and if we don't, we can probably get hold of them for you. But have a look at them, talk to us. We'll work out what we should be sending you, and then send 3 50ml samples out to your door. At which stage, you've got 2 options really. You can sit at home or with your friends, and with your friends, probably if you're in England at the moment, on a Zoom call with them. But you can sit at home and drink them alone, and let us then know which cask you're interested in. Or we can book in a second consultation when someone like myself or Mickey, one of our other brand ambassadors, will jump on a call with you and drink along basically, and then talk to you about the drams that you've got in front of you, talk to you about the cask and why it might have matured that way. And we touched on it earlier, the different warehouses and the effects they have. Lots of different stuff we then have a talk about. So what you end up with basically through this route is a one-on-one consultation with a Mackmyra ambassador who will know what they're talking about, if I do say so myself. And really just help you along the way and find the perfect cask for you. The idea of consultations is so that we can find the best 3 samples to send, so that you end up with something that you're really happy with at the end of the day. And then the next stage really is designing a label. We'll send you a template, and you can take however long you need to come up with your own label. Could be something quite plain, could become quite plain and ordinary, could be something quite loud and ostentatious, to use a fancy word that Mickey was impressed when I knew what it was before we started the show.
And used in context.
Yeah. Thank you. Such as the Whisky Circus label, and talking about labels, we're there to help as well. So that's just another part of it. We don't just say here's a template, off you go. If you design something and send it to us, we can spend a bit of time, getting the edges in order, tidying it up a little bit if you need, or offering you a little bit of advice, and just making sure that it looks really good, so that when it arrives, all your bottles just look like something that you're really proud of, you want to have on the shelf, you can't wait to show off. So that's it. So to summarize quickly, 2 main options: go on the website, have a look at the casks, pick the one you want to buy and buy it, or go on the website, book a consultation, and one of us will be in touch with you and work out what samples to send. And then if you want to buy it, buy it. And if you do buy a cask, we will take whatever money you've spent on that consultation, we'll take off the cask price. Yep. So you end up getting that consultation for free, which I think is just quite a good part of the service, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's probably enough from me, I think, there on how to do it. Hopefully that was clear enough for everyone. Please do let us know if you've got any questions, or want anything to be any more clear. But Mickey, I've probably given you quite enough time there to have some thoughts about this dram that you've got.
I could have gone through a whole bottle, Rich. But that's testament to how tasty that is. Yeah. So
just a quick hello to Menno, Mickey. So Menno's a fellow whiskey friend and a big whiskey enthusiast. So I've just seen his name come up on the screen. So thanks for joining.
You're welcome.
You were talking about wanting to have a whole bottle of that to go through.
Yeah, that's just delicious, quite frankly. 47.3. And what age did you say that was, Rich?
This is 4 years old. 4 year old.
4 years old. So that's probably obviously the bonus. Mine, I had quite the drop in ABV, but wow, the flavour on that. And don't be put off because it's a smoky recipe, guys, either. Our smoky recipe only contains 23% of our smoked malt. you know, so it isn't that big punch in the face. This is beautiful. This is nice. A good subtle bonfire going through it. All those juicy notes, all those dark stewed fruits that you typically associate with an Oloroso sherry cask whiskey. Yeah, beautiful. Find it hard to believe it's 47.3. It's just delicious.
Well, I think that it somehow the flavours. I've had some casks now that have come from the warehouse, from the Bodas mine, where the ABV can come down a bit faster, as you said, the humidity, without going too far down that rabbit hole of explanation. But I've had some that are 41, 42%, and they are absolutely packed full of flavour.
Yeah.
And anyone that thinks, you know, that car strength above 50% is the only thing I'll touch, I would challenge them to try one of these and see what they think. I genuinely would. So this is, what's your favourite of the three?
It's got to be the Smoky Oloroso, but it's a difficult choice. It's a difficult choice, Rich. I would be happy to buy any one of those three, quite frankly, and I wouldn't be disappointed.
Yeah.
If I had to, you know, really pin something down, it would definitely be the Smoky Oloroso, for sure.
Yeah. I agree. I think about the three, and not in a company man sort of way either. I would genuinely, I would really actually like any of the three. I think for me, the one. So I'm a big fan of peated whiskies, big fan. But I think number two, this Elegant Oloroso, 49.2%, 6 years old. I think that for me is just, that was special.
Yeah.
That was special. And I think if you're a member of the Wessex Whisky Club, you may well have one of these on the way to you, so you're going to be very happy, I think, with that one. I'm quite envious, actually.
Is it too late to join the Essex Whisky Club?
Well, the Wessex Whisky Club and the Little Whisky Shop have actually, this is it. So this is the label for number two. So number two, and I'm going on about it now. It's not available to purchase for anyone that's listening, I'm afraid, but we do have, you know, other cars available that'll be similar. Hope, you know, perhaps too. But I think those guys made a brilliant decision about that one, I have to say. So we talked about our favourites. We talked about the who, the where, the why. Probably time to talk a little bit about pricing.
Yeah, that's the important bit. That's what everybody wants to know about, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about pricing, Mick, or should I?
I can do it, mate. I can do it. So, guys, your pricing, all right? What you see, the price you see on the website, is all you pay. Okay, I don't mean that in a light term. I don't mean that's all. That's it. But that is your final price. There's no hidden extras. There's no, oh, you've got your bottles. No, we need X amount off you. Nothing. The price you see on the website is the price you pay, guys. That's your labeling, your shipping, your duty, your VAT. Any price that attracts anything from anywhere, that's what's included right there for you guys. Okay, so I think the cheapest, and obviously I use that term loosely because I appreciate, you know, £1,800 is not pocket change. You know, most people don't have that lying around in their wallet. And I think we got to about £4,000. So there's a few things that affect the price, guys. Okay, so that would be number of bottles, the cask type, the recipe type, but mostly the most thing that attracts tax is the ABV. So the higher the ABV, generally the more tax you have to pay. So guys, when you're looking at your prices, etc., just bear that one in mind. Higher the ABV, the higher the tax. Therefore, normally the higher your price. Added extras. So I think the most common, the cheapest for £1,900 would be the Elegant ex-bourbon. Because those casks are quite plentiful. There's lots of them around, and our Elegant recipe is the one we produce the most of. And then the most expensive, I think, is it Smoky Oloroso?
Smoky Oloroso, Swedish oak.
Swedish oak. Swedish oak cask, sorry. So like a smoky Swedish oak. So the Swedish oak cask is more expensive because there's a lot less of them. We can only turn over maybe 3 or 4 of those a day, something like that. So there's a lot less of them. There's a lot less in the way of Swedish oak casks. And obviously there's a lot more effort goes into making our rook recipe or our smoky recipe. So just bear that in mind, guys, when you are looking through the website, etc. Okay. But there's, you know, like we said, there's about 45 are there available at the moment. Yeah,
that's it.
So there's plenty for everybody, guys. Plenty for everybody. Everybody's budget, I'd say, hopefully.
So £1,800. If that's got 48 bottles, on average, we might say 48 bottles for the cask. It can vary, but that's only £37 per bottle for a single cask strength, unchill filtered, no added colouring Mackmyra, which you can't buy really anywhere on the market. We don't sell.
No, you can't.
I mean, we've got 2 ambassadors casks that we have that are just exceptional. £195 a bottle. They are well worth the money. I've tried them both. They are incredible, but you can't really buy it elsewhere. You need to get the cask to do it. And if you've got so one other thing, actually, sorry to add about the pricing, is the number of bottles that we have. So if the ones that have fewer bottles, obviously going to end up being cheaper because there's not as much of them, and ones that have got more, you might pay a little bit more for them. So if you've got a group of you, 4 or 5 people or so, you might be able to go for something that's got 60 bottles and have a go. And at £1,800, 5 people each, 5 friends, that's 360 quid to get, like 10 or so bottles of single cask whiskey each at £36 roughly a pop. All price included, nothing else is added on. Everything's all like, one-time price. So not too bad. And I think I've gone back to the Oloroso, the elegant Oloroso mix to show off. But so that's more or less it that we've got to talk about. We've talked about what a ready cask is, talked about why we have them. If we've got a surplus of casks and we think they're available for. We got we sort of who they're for, how to get hold of them, visit the website, 2 different ways you can do it: buy it direct, book a consultation. We'll help you out every step of the way. We talked about the price, anywhere from, at the moment, anywhere £1,800 up to about £4,000. Lots of different variety on there as well. So get on the website and have a look and see, what you're interested really in doing it. But the last thing, and I'm conscious of the fact that, we said we'd be about 30 minutes, and I think we've gone to 40 because we had too much of a good time. You put 3 single cask whiskies in front of us, and we thought we might do 2, but when we were told 3, I think we jumped at the chance, Mick. So I'll blame whoever made that decision for our time running like that. But I'll also thank them at the same time. But at the beginning of the show, we spoke about the reserve cask offer.
We did.
This Saturday, 20% off, 1 day only, flash sale on reserve casks. If you could explain and expand a little bit further, Mick, on what.
So reserve cask, guys, you become the lord and master. You choose the wood, you choose the recipe, you choose the warehouse. Yeah. If you can get yourself over to Sweden, you can also fill it and put it into the warehouse as well. But that's only if. But for this sale, so you choose the recipe, smoky or non-smoky, elegant or smoky. Yeah, you choose the wood. There's quite a lot of woods available, but let's stick to the basic 4. So we've got some Swedish oak at the moment, a limited amount of Swedish oak. We've got some American oak. We've got ex-bourbon, and we've got Oloroso. That's just a quick highlight. There are some more, I do believe, if you ask really nicely. Then basically it gets filled. It goes to sleep for a couple of years. You get a sample every year on its birthday to see how it's progressing. When you think it's ready, you let the distillery know. Then again, if you can make yourself to Sweden, you can bottle it yourself. If not, we're happy to bottle it for you, or the guys at the distillery will bottle it for you. And again, like we spoke about with the ready casks, you design your label. All the information gets put on your label, and it gets delivered. But the payments for that are in 2 steps. Yeah, you'll see a payment for everything, and then on the second payment, it's around roughly about £450, and that'll be for the HMRC payment for your taxes and duties. Yeah, before you get it delivered.
You've got to pay them. You have to pay those people. Unfortunately,
you do indeed. You do indeed.
No way around it. Yeah.
So one of the big differences is that split payment. You pay the majority up front, and that gets you your spirit in the cask. That gets you your cask, your sleeping place for your cask, it bottled, it labelled, and everything that goes along with it. Yeah, and then you pay a little bit when that's all done and dusted. You pay a little bit, not a little bit. Obviously, £450 is not a little bit of money, but you pay that money then, and that covers your taxes. So we say about 450. It does fluctuate depending on the ABV, amount of bottles, all that sort of good stuff that you have to pay. It depends on the ABV, basically, guys. Okay. So you can read more about that on www.mackmyra.co.uk. for our cask. For our reserve cask program. Obviously, you can find me and Rich any messages that you like as well for our social medias, emails, etc. And we'll be happy to answer questions on that.
Yeah, perfect.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so I think that's probably it. I mean, we've talked, as I said, we've gone through the ready casts. Hopefully, everyone's got a good idea and a clear understanding now of what ready casts are, and more importantly, how you can get hold of one. Any opportunity that we get to do consultations with people, by the way, we grab the chance very enthusiastically, because this is great fun for us to do, and we thoroughly enjoy doing it, I'll say. So before we go, Mick, I think that's probably time to start closing it off.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Don't forget, tune in on Friday for our opening of the Mackmyra Inn with me and Rich. We'll have a guest. We'll have Dan from the Somerton Club. He'll be our renter pal for the day, or for the half hour, should I say? Also, so next week's show will be slightly different. We're actually going to go out on Friday the 13th. So we won't have a pub, but we'll have another live show, and that will be revealing something quite special and our new moment range as well. So stay tuned for that one, guys, as well. And then obviously Fridays after that will be the pub, and Wednesdays will be for Mackmyra Life. We've got a full program planned till the end of the year at least. So guys, yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, nice. Well, I'll just say quickly, I'd like to add about the virtual pub, the Mackmyra Inn, which I have to say, that was Mickey's idea for the name, by the way, everyone watching. And I think it's an absolutely phenomenal name. Really excited about doing that show. And we've already got, I think, probably 6 or 7 weeks worth of guests lined up for it, all of whom I'm really excited to have on. And not everyone, some of them are a bit left field as well, but they've got some really super interesting stories and really good things that we can talk about and hear about.
We've got a good mix of whiskey people and non-whiskey people as well. So.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. So come, please come and join us. Have a post work or post, unsolicited day of leisure, whatever your situation may be. Dram with us at 6 o'clock on Fridays. Looking forward to you joining us. So, Mickey, thank you very much for being my co-host, or both you're co-hosting together for the evening.
Pleasure as always, sir. Pleasure as always.
And thank you, Carl and Connor, for all the work you've done on the back end, and everyone that's helped us get prepared for the show. Thank you, most importantly, to everyone who's watched, and thanks for any of the comments you made, and thanks for just being there with us and enjoying, hopefully, what we've had to say, or at least learning a bit from it, at the very least. So don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does make a difference to us, and it really helps us along the way. And good luck out there. Anyone who's going into lockdown now, or anyone going for any restriction at the moment, best of luck to you all. Be nice, be kind to one another. Ask people how they are. Everyone's going to go through difficult or different, I should say, situations now. So be there and be present if you can. And good luck, and I wish you well from me. And thanks for joining.
Skull.
Skull. Yeah.